This is Afghanistan. Alexander the Great tried to conquer this country. Then Genghis Khan, then the British. Now Russia. But Afghan people fight hard. They never be defeated. Ancient enemy, make prayer about these people. You wish to hear? Very good. It says, may God deliver us from the venom of the cobra, teeth of the tiger, and the vengeance of the Afghan. You understand what this means?
That you guys don't take any shit?
Yes. Something like this.
You came by your own free will, but you will leave when we allow you to leave. Afghanistan, also known as the graveyard of empires. We go back in time to the early 19th century. A largely barren country with a rich Islamic civilization, trading and fighting with its largely Muslim and Asian neighbors. Never having encountered a non-Muslim power as alien as the colonial British, and yet in the 1830s, Afghanistan was perceived, as it is still perceived today, as an immediate threat to British national security. It is no surprise that Central Asia, as we know it today, came into existence as a resultant of a 19th century clash between two great powers, Britain and Russia. This clash is known as the Great Game. Although these two huge empires were almost 4,000 miles apart, they felt they were about to meet, with only Afghanistan in between. Afghanistan was sandwiched between these two empires, with the British, under the guise of the East India Company to the east, who had invaded and were running India, and the Russians to the north. The British sent in a spy, Alexander Burnes, to gain intelligence on the region. Similarly, the Russians were also undertaking intelligence missions. The ruler of Afghanistan during this time, Emir Dost Mohammed. Alexander Burnes, the British Empire's boots on the ground, thought Afghanistan should be left well alone. However, a small group of policymakers in the British Empire had other ideas of regime change to topple Dost Mohammed and replace him with their own puppet, Shah Shuja, a man who'd been living in British India for the past 30 years, a man who the British could rely on to do their bidding. The propaganda machinery got to work, claiming that Dost Mohammed was disloyal to the British and posed an immediate and urgent threat to the British Empire, when in actual fact Dost Mohammed was trying to keep his distance from both Russia and the British. The then Governor General of British India, Lord Auckland, ordered the invasion of Afghanistan, which is now known as the First Anglo Afghan War. Initially, the British were able to enter Afghanistan with very little resistance, and Shah Shuja was placed on the throne. The Afghans, however, would not tolerate foreign occupation, nor a king imposed on them by a foreign power, and insurrections broke out. Soon after, the British realized their position was untenable and planned a withdrawal. In 1842, some 4,500 troops and 12,000 workmen retreated out of Kabul. Akbar Khan, son of Dost Muhammad Khan, and his forces then swarmed the British, killing all, leaving all but one sole survivor, William Bryden, to go back and tell the tale. In the aftermath, 115 British personnel were released by the Afghans. This was the first time in history a non-colonial power sees off a modern westernized army in the 19th century, to completely destroy an entire Victorian army at the very peak of Britain's power. This wasn't going to be the last time the Afghans were going to see off a foreign invading power. At the end of the First Anglo Afghan War in 1842, Dost Mohammed was back in power. With improving relations between Dost Mohammed and the British, he would advocate an alliance with the British, as he saw this as a way to ensure the survival of his state. The Treaty of Peshawar proclaimed respect for Afghanistan and British territorial integrity, and declared each to be friends of each other's friends and enemies of each other's enemies. The rivalry between the British and Russia continued to intensify. More than 1,000 miles away from Afghanistan in 1854, the two powers fought a brutal war in Crimea. In 1872, Russia signed an agreement with England, promising to respect the northern boundaries of Afghanistan. During July 1878, King Sher Ali allowed a Russian delegate to enter Kabul. Wanting to retain the British influence, the Viceroy of India at the time, Lord Lytton, ordered a diplomatic mission to travel to Kabul. Sher Ali refused to meet with the British mission. In retaliation, the British Army sent a military force to cross the Khyber Pass. A new generation of British policymakers decided again to invade Afghanistan. There was a public outcry, just like there had been during the First Anglo-Afghan War. Once again, that did not matter. This time, a 40,000 strong army was marching towards Afghanistan. The Second Anglo-Afghan War began in 1878 and lasted for 2 years. At the end of the war, the Treaty of Gandamak was completed between the British government and the Afghan ruler at the time, Yaqub Khan. The treaty was to establish peace between two countries. It committed Yaqub Khan to conduct his foreign relations with advice from the British authorities. In layman terms, Afghanistan gave up an independent foreign policy, which from this day forth would be dictated by the British. In return for this, the British government promised to assist Yaqub Khan against acts of foreign aggression.